We are live! Yay! Monday morning, let's go!
Yay.
If you guys don't know, Monday is TGIM. Thank God it's Monday. And if you're listening to this right now saying, oh my God, this is too early for that type of enthusiasm, I'm going to go ahead and tell you it's never too early for that level of enthusiasm. I'm joined by the lovely Coach Danielle. What's up?
Hey.
We're going to be talking about some fun things today, one of which being the title of today. Let me pull that up really quick because I need to hit everyone in this group. You got a puppy back there?
Yeah,
What kind of puppy?
he's barking at his puppy brother.
Heck yeah. What kind of
This one's
puppy?
an Australian Shepherd. The other
Oh.
one started the barking though. He's just responding.
Ah. They say there's two things you can do. You can respond and you can react. Responding is positive, reacting is negative, right? I think it was Zig Ziglar that said there was
Oh, maybe he's reacting then.
no, who knows? There was a story of this woman. She had a rash on her face. The doctor prescribed some lotion, and her skin reacted negatively. Right, got the rash even worse. It
Right.
got
It
underneath.
didn't respond well.
Right, didn't respond, but responding is positive
Right.
supposedly, and that's a little semantic. But I like to play with words. They're a lot of fun. Anyway, today we're talking
Yeah, I
about
like that.
yeah, who knows? All right, we're talking about the underrated key to aging well, and we got some fun stuff to share with you. We even got a little PowerPoint. What? Who doesn't love PowerPoints?
Yay.
So, why did you want to talk about this today, Coach Danielle? Why is this important to you? Why should this be important to others? Hit me.
Yeah. Well, speaking semantics, so I think it's super important that we're shifting our focus away from lifespan and towards health span.
Mm,
And
that's
kind of
good.
break that down in this PowerPoint. What's the difference between those two words?
Mm,
But I think that that's very important that we're shifting our focus that way. And that's something that we are very passionate about at our Body Transformation is we're not just increasing the time we live, we're increasing the quality of the time that we're living here.
that's huge.
And then, we're going to go over what I think is underutilized still in like the mainstream as far as making sure that you're aging well.
That's crucial. I think just to marry that is the idea of moving from this idea of weight loss to, like you said, aging well and
Hmm.
to be able to have this health span. I think it's so easy to get caught up in the,
Yeah.
the finite goal of what's in front of us as losing 30 pounds. But really, that truly, just like a glacier, is the tip. That's the part we can see, but there's
Right.
so much underneath that matters. After you lose that weight, then what? Well, then you're probably going to go on a
Exactly.
muscle building phase. And then you want to maintain it.
Hmm.
And then you want to be able to do all this fun stuff where there's fireworks and explosions. Let's go. All right. Take us from the top.
Yeah, yeah. So let's dive in and just kind of talk about the difference between health span and lifespan.
Let's do it.
Um, so as I kind of mentioned, lifespan is something we've all talked about. That's simply just the amount of years that you live.
Yep.
While health span is the amount of years that you're living well, so without chronic or debilitating disease.
Yes.
And what we've seen, especially in the United States, is over the last 100 years, our lifespan has increased 20 years. So if you were born in 1924, your lifespan was about 59 years. Now in 2024, if you're born, your lifespan is estimated to be about 79 years. So we've gained 20 years of lifespan over the
Wow.
last century, but only 4 of those last 20 years are going to be healthy.
That's
So our
surprising.
health span has lagged, yes, significantly behind. So an average
Wow.
person, the last 16 years of your life, you're considered sick, which pretty
Wow.
much means you just can't do the activity of daily life the way you used to, whether it's mental, physical, or both. You need help from other people.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah.
graphics really interesting with that too. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
trying
just
to
kind of a
just
good way to think about it.
yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. I won't interrupt. Keep going. This is interesting.
Yeah, so as far as shifting our mindset to health span, the most underutilized thing I think is building muscle.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about a couple reasons why that is. So, for someone who's considered overweight, which is a BMI of 25 to 30,
Sure.
studies have actually shown that building muscle increases your health span more than losing weight does.
Mm.
So we're not talking obese, we're talking overweight.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that that was super interesting. And I think it kind of comes down to two main things. One of the main things is, as we know, most people who lose weight regain it back within 5 years.
Yes.
So not only are they regaining it back, but when they're losing weight, they're also losing lean muscle, which is much harder to gain back, especially as we age.
Yes.
So they did studies on like two average groups of dieters. Half of them were 25 and half of them were 55. And they were on the same deficit. They lost the same amount of weight. But in someone who's 25, only 30% of that weight was muscle. Someone who is 55, 50% of that weight is muscle. So say
Wow.
you're 55, you lose 30 pounds. If you're not focusing on muscle gain, 15 of that was lean body mass and muscle, and then you gain it back. So now you're in a worse position because now you have more body fat and less lean muscle. And the second big thing is as we age, we know there's normal loss of muscle mass or sarcopenia. So
Yeah.
over this time, you're naturally losing muscle mass. You're losing it from dieting and not focusing on the correct things when you're dieting or doing
Mm-hmm.
it too fast.
Yes.
And then you're in a situation where you have less muscle mass.
Man, I mean
So, yeah,
that is so
crazy.
interesting to see the hard data, but that's why again
Yeah.
it's so important to have, I will say, a good deficit. You know, I know a lot of the time it's like we're trying to do the
Yeah.
math, and I think of myself as an overachiever. So if my goal is to lose 30 pounds, you better believe I'm doing the math and I'm going, well, if I lose 1 pound a week, that's 30 weeks. I could double that. I'll do it in 15. Well, I could do a little bit more. I'll do it in 10, right? But yes, if you
Right.
do it too quickly, it's like your body is not only going to pull from the fat stores, but again, your body is really good at surviving. And
Yeah.
it will pull from muscle as well. And that is just, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a crazy thing to see as a statistic.
Yeah. Yeah. It really makes you rethink everything. And it really makes the focus to be more on like muscle gaining,
Yeah.
instead of just weight loss. And that's
Right.
something we focus on. This
Of
is
course.
program's not about getting skinny. This is about getting healthy, you
Yes.
know? So yeah.
Yeah, I think
But
that
yeah, we
oh sorry. I was
no, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I think this speaks to as well again what we just mentioned as far as phases. A lot of people are focused on
Hmm.
losing the weight, but that's phase one. You know, that's a fat loss phase.
It's
And you
been
might
one.
not even lose
Right.
all the weight in your first fat loss phase. It might be, fat loss phase, muscle build phase, fat loss phase, muscle build phase, or it's a fat loss phase into a muscle building phase where during that muscle building phase, you have to be in a caloric surplus and to build muscle effectively. Now, as you're in a caloric surplus, you're probably going to put on a tiny bit of fat. Oh no! No, it's fine. You'll
Yeah.
lose it again. As long as we're
Yeah.
not going through these huge ups and downs, right? We can really think of it like right now you have a clay sculpture and you're taking off a bunch of the excess clay. That's the fat loss phase. But now you're left with a physique that, yes, you're the weight you want, but you're not shaped the way that you want 100%. And this
Hmm.
goes, again, beyond health a little bit. But so what you do is you just add a little bit more clay on and then you shape it. And you add a little bit more
Yeah.
clay and shape it. You don't take a big old hunking thing of clay and toss it on top and try to shape that. You don't do that. It's not a muscle build phase isn't an opportunity to eat whatever you want all the time. But that is really how you get to your ideal place. And you had alluded to that the last time we talked, where you've been on this journey for 15 years for yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, how many fat loss and muscle building phases have you been on? Right?
Yeah.
It's
A
interesting.
lot. And honestly, it's been probably 5 years since I've been in a caloric deficit. Um, I think I'm about ready to do it again. But honestly, you just have to, once you're on this journey for so long, you kind of know what
Mm,
your body needs. And
yes.
the last 5 years, I've either been pregnant or postpartum, so like my body did not need the stress of a caloric deficit.
Yeah.
So I was fine with that. And now I'm like finally at the place where I feel like I might, do that again for a little bit. And my body, my metabolism is super healthy and I have a ton of muscle. So I know it'll be pretty easy to lose a couple pounds of body fat.
Heck yeah. We got a couple comments coming in as well. Thyatira says, I'm
Yeah.
so glad you said it's about being healthy. That is most important. 100%. 100%. This isn't about, just looking a certain way and feeling a certain way. That's important, but that's part of a much bigger pie. Cassie says, hey, coach. Which coach? Me or Danielle? Is this ringing true to you guys? Let us know as well. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah, so let's just talk about muscle real quick and why muscle is so important. So what I like to tell my clients is muscle health is wealth.
Mm,
And I'll kind of go into what I mean by that. So muscle is an endocrine organ, but the cool thing about it is it's the only organ system that we have voluntary control over.
mm,
So I think that we need to take advantage of that, you know? And with muscle, you know, we kind of know what a healthy range of body fat is. We know what a healthy bone mass is, but we don't really have like a healthy zone for muscle that's been identified by science yet.
mm,
So what I like to say is if you have like elevated triglycerides, elevated glucose, elevated insulin, you can conclude that your skeletal muscle health isn't where it should be,
mm,
and that you have some work that you can do there. Um, so what I say is, you know, as we age, with each year that we age, we have an increased attention on our financial health. So,
mm.
you know, we're preparing for retirement. We're thinking about what's in the bank to prepare us for as we retire. So what I like to tell my clients is think about your muscle mass the same way. It is your bank account. And right now is the time you need to be building that up so that at the end of life, you know, sickness and disease will come at some point, and muscle is what's going to really protect you against that.
Whoa. I feel like if you had a microphone in your hand, you should drop that thing because that is freaking so powerful, the idea, right? I think this is kind of just America. We were talking about that a little bit before where it's like America's figured out capitalism. We figured out how to be financially
Mhm.
abundant. We figured out how to, live the American dream. But along the way, what do we sacrifice in some cases? We sacrifice
Right.
our health. We sacrifice our relationships with others. And we lose a big part of ourselves. So to shift a bit from, okay, hey, look, I think it was Naval Ravikant that said, look, and this is coming from, I believe he's if not a centa millionaire, he might be a billionaire, if not a centa millionaire. So he's got some money. Um, he says, look, as long as you got a little place to lie your head at night, you got a little roof over your head, a little food to eat, a little water to drink, you've got your basic needs figured out. And now you got to master your health.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
that is just so powerful. Where it's like, is that new car really making your life that good? Probably not. Could that money be invested somewhere else? Could you, it's almost like the wheel of life where it's like you have your physical body, your emotions and meaning, your relationships, how you spend your time, your job, your career, your mission, your finances and your contribution or, having fun in life. And a lot of the wheels in life, our road wheels, are a little jagged. And you guys know that if you got a wheel that's a little jagged, it doesn't go too well. You don't go anywhere very much. So it's up to us to be able to identify what wheel needs a little more love, a little more attention, so that we can even it out and have life run a little more smoothly. Wow, well
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, I know. There's like that saying, you know, when you're healthy, so many things matter. Your focus is on so many things, but when you're sick, nothing else matters. All you're thinking about
Wow.
is your health, you
Yes.
know? So it's like we really like let's not let it get to that point. You know, let's not get it to that point where we are sick and we can't focus on anything else because we have to be focused on our health. Like let's focus on our health now, building that bank account now, so that, you know, we're strong physically, you know, at the end of our lives.
Yes. Very powerful. Cassie says, just did my 20 minutes of yoga. Had a small rest, then did my
Yay,
core
Cassie.
exercises. Let's go. Is Cassie your client?
No, but she
Oh,
sounds awesome. So
yeah.
go,
I wish
Cassie.
I wish she was.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thytira said, "Wow, never thought of it that way before, and it makes a lot of sense hearing it out loud. Heck yeah, love to see it. All right, let's keep going. What's next?
Yeah. So, if you guys have heard me speak before, you guys know I'm super passionate about glucose and its role in the body. So, we're going to dive into how skeletal health really helps. So, your skeletal muscle is actually responsible for 80% of your glucose disposal. So, that is
Mm,
super important, and why
powerful.
people who have more muscle and more quality muscle are able to handle more carbohydrates in their diet.
Mm,
without having, high insulin or high glucose levels in their bloodstream because their muscles are able to dispose of that well. Um,
yes.
and then also, the more muscles you have, the more binding sites you have for that glucose in your muscle, so
Mm,
less of it has to stay in your bloodstream. And that's what we want to avoid is glucose staying in your bloodstream. So that's really great. And then also skeletal muscle contraction is actually anti-inflammatory. So when your skeletal
mm,
muscles are contracting, they're lowering inflammation in your body. And we've talked about it before, but inflammation is terrible for your health. And it progresses almost all the chronic diseases. So anything you can do to lower inflammation in your body is going to help you be more resistant to disease. Um, and then it's also metabolically costly. So the more muscle mass that you have, not only can you handle more carbohydrates, but your basal metabolic rate is going to be higher as well. So you can handle more calories in general. So you don't have to diet on such a low calorie.
yes.
And then finally, the healthier your skeletal muscle is, it actually increases your brain health as well. So when skeletal muscle contracts, it releases myokines, and those myokines release the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, and that actually prevents the neural circuitry degradation that you see with aging. And that's where we get that cognitive decline that naturally comes from aging. So if we can keep contracting our skeletal muscle as we age, we're slowing that cognitive decline. And I think that's something like we all want to do.
Oh yeah, I mean that's everything, right? That's the most powerful, and I think that
Yeah.
goes counterintuitive to what we've been maybe told by the Planet Fitness commercials, where it's like, I lift things up and I put them down. Well, those guys are dumb if you lift weights. But the fact of the matter is, if you do exercise, you will be sharper for longer,
Yeah.
you know. And isn't that what we want? Like we're talking about health span. It's one thing to keep your body alive. It's one thing to be able to have your body functioning, but if you don't know what's going on, if you're slower to react or, you can't quite keep up with what's going on in the room, man, that's a quality of life that I'm afraid of having. So you bet
Yeah.
I'm in the gym. You bet I'm lifting those weights.
Yeah.
I gotta build it, baby. All right.
Yeah, I think that's something we all worry about. As we age, we don't want to be a burden to our kids or family members. So I think that's something that we all think about. It's just not physical help you might need,
Yes.
you might need mental help. So it's like the
Yeah.
longer you can go and be sharp and be able to handle your finances and handle everything else that comes in your life, it's just the less you're like leaning on your kids at end of life. And
Mm,
that's something that I don't want to have to do. I want to be able to be like that grandparent that's, helping my kids, when
yes.
they have kids. I don't want to feel like I'm burdening them. So I think that, I mean, that's huge for me. And that's like a big part of my why, of why I love lifting weights.
I love it. You're just thinking about being able to be sharp when you're 80. Every rep you do.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to be
That's
like
awesome.
sharp. I want to be like chasing my grandkids and throwing them in the air and, jumping in the pool with them and
That's
all the
cool.
fun stuff.
I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, I love it. I think that's so good. Is this resonating with anyone out there? Is anyone thinking, "Damn, I want the same thing"? Let us know in the comments. We always want this to be not just Danielle and I talking or a coach and I talking. We want to be talking to you and with you and steer the conversation in the way that's going to benefit you the most. All right, let's go. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Protein
So if
power.
this is resonating with you and you are like, heck yeah, I want to build muscle, like I want to be the fit grandma or grandpa, then we're just going to give you guys like a simple, quick two-part prescription of what you need to be doing now to get you there. So the first non-negotiable is going to be increasing your dietary protein consumption. So what we kind of look for is about 0.75 grams per pound of ideal body weight. So somewhere in that range is where we're trying to get our clients to. Um, if you can do it at least 3 times a day, that's going to be good. So at least splitting it up into 3 different meals, just so you're stimulating muscle protein synthesis at least 3 times a day, getting the most out of that muscle protein synthesis. And then I like to have my clients focus on the first meal first.
Mm,
So what I mean by that is, it's very important. Not only are you coming off an overnight fast, but if you look at the standard American diet, breakfast is typically the lowest in protein. So this is kind of like our biggest area for improvement. So that's kind of where I start with my clients nutritionally wise is like, let's go ahead and get our breakfast really high protein, at least 30 grams of protein is what I mean by high protein. So we're stimulating that muscle protein synthesis at the beginning of the day. And then not only are you getting that muscle protein synthesis, but it's also setting you up for the rest of the day better. So it's, supporting cognition, releasing those gut peptides, improving satiation. So just the rest of the day, if you start with a high protein meal versus like a high carb, very sweet breakfast that's typical in the United States, it's going to set you up for a better day of health choices overall.
Definitely. And I've gotten the question in the past too, like, how do I know my ideal body weight? Just ask yourself what, as you were, aging as an adult, what is the body weight you felt your best? It doesn't have to be perfect,
Mhm.
but if you're, 180 now and you want to be 140, 140 would be your, we'll say your high goal for protein. And then point 0.7, you're probably looking at like 100 to 140 a day, is where you want to be.
Exactly.
If you are quite below 100, just set the goal of 100 or even slightly
Yeah.
lower and build up. Some comments have come in as well. Thigh Tira, I just want to make sure I'm saying your name right, says, totally agree. This is awesome. Or the comment went away, but that's what I thought it said. Cassie said, I know exactly what it's like. I sprained my back at TRH in April. Put me down for 3 months. So much inflammation. I really thought I might die. Whoa. Luckily, I found a doc in
Wow.
Cairo who cared enough to get me through it. Successfully, I've lost 15 pounds to date. On the road to better. Only whole foods. I love it. Catherine says consistency is key. Cassie says I had leftovers for breakfast. A piece of Swiss steak with mushrooms and onions and half a cup of mashed potatoes. Love it. Carbs aren't
Yes.
the enemy. To putting that out there as well.
Right.
Sometimes people are like, oh, that's a
Exactly.
carb, isn't it? It's like, yeah, you should eat carbs. You just don't want to only
Yeah.
carbs, right? It's not what you eat, it's how much
Exactly.
you eat. Daitira
Yep.
says, what will a high protein breakfast look like besides a protein shake? Good question.
Yeah. You have a lot of options. A lot of people like eggs, so eggs are really, really good. Like high protein Greek yogurt is really good. You can make protein into almost anything, like protein pancakes, etc. But then I think it's like Cassie that said she had leftovers. I think that's huge. We kind of have to reframe our idea around breakfast. It's
Mm,
okay to eat like savory foods for breakfast. And honestly, like leftovers from dinner are the easiest breakfast for me. So that's a great idea. And that's like a good hack that I teach my clients is if you can just cook a little bit more dinner than you know you're going to eat, put a serving of it aside in a Tupperware container for you and heat that up for breakfast. That's like a quick, easy, high protein breakfast. And I think once you think about it that way, it's not as hard.
yeah, and I have a lot of clients too. Like, they'll say, well, that's not a breakfast food. And it's like, well, if you're, as long as you're not trying to get pregnant or, there isn't any other reason why you wouldn't want to do intermittent fasting, one of the easiest things you can do is just kind of don't eat breakfast. It's like your first meal
Hold
can
off a little.
be lunch. So it's like you're just, the thing I've done pretty much every day for the last few years now is I wake up and I have my little 2.2 liter, which is a little over half a gallon, I believe. And I fill it up with water and I put in about, I think, half a teaspoon. I might be, these measurements might be wrong, but about half a teaspoon of salt. I put in
Hmm.
my lemon, my lime, got all my electrolytes, pound that thing, and I really don't eat until usually noon. And it works for me. And I stay relatively
Yeah.
lean without thinking about it. I
Yeah.
mean, it makes it easy because, yeah, like, I'm going to be honest, I don't really want to eat chicken for breakfast, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, your breakfast can just come a bit later, and you have a slightly
Exactly.
extended fast, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
I like it. All right, what's next? Resistance
All right.
training.
So our second non-negotiable for building that healthy skeletal muscle is going to be resistance training.
Let's go.
So we're talking about this. If you're a novice and you haven't done this before, we want to start slow. So go
Yes.
ahead, start with body weight movements, get comfortable doing those, get your form down. And then you can increase to bands, and then you can increase from there to weights.
Yes.
If you have access to a gym, high ground exercises are going to be really good. And those are just exercises where you have a lot of support. So like a hack squat, a lat pull down, like anything like that, supported row. And that's just going to be really good as you age because you're having that support. It's making sure you're doing everything in correct form and you're not getting hurt. So that's a key to this is you do not want to get hurt. You don't want to jump right in and go from 0 to 100. You want to really like slowly, incrementally increase. Um, and then try to work your way up to 2 to 3 times a week, 30-minute sessions. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Most of our sessions are about 30 minutes. Um, and what we like to see our clients is get to that 3 times a week. You can do like a full body split or you can go do an upper lower split, but just get in that 3 days a week, 30 minutes a day. If you want to do more, we can increase from there. But what you really want to be focusing on is progressively overloading. So just becoming a little bit stronger each week. So we like to stick with that 6 to 12 rep range for hypertrophy. And then each week, I just try to have my clients increase a little bit, whether it's weights, reps, or even like time under tension, just slowing down the rep. Somehow making it a little bit more challenging each week just to make sure we're continuing to grow. And when you start, it's easy. It's very easy to start putting on muscle. So like you really don't have to think about anything fancy for the first year. You just got to do the basics.
So crucial. I mean, you just pretty much in the
Yeah.
last like 10 seconds said everything I wanted to segue into, which is just like it doesn't have to be complex for a long time. Like a
Exactly.
year. If you're starting this thing out, look, body weight, bands, work your way up. I've had the opportunity now because I used to not only teach one-on-one but groups. I own gyms and whatnot. And it was all boot camp style, and I've had the
Yeah.
opportunity to see thousands upon thousands of people start for the first time. And I can tell you from the age of 25 all the way to 75, do not worry about like build your foundation. Don't worry about the fancy stuff. You don't need to be doing this crazy
Exactly.
stuff you see on TikTok. Like do the
Yeah.
basics. Get really proficient at your squat. Like you'll see the four types of movements here that Coach Danielle put
Yeah.
in. Learning how to squat properly, hinge properly, press properly, pull properly, engaging your core, making sure that everything's aligned. And look, you can do this without a coach. Just go to YouTube, type in how
Yeah.
to squat properly, and I
Yeah.
promise you, you'll see a 24 million view video that says, like, okay, here's what we're going to do. And you just follow it. Same thing with a
Uh-huh.
hinge, which is a little more challenging to learn
Yeah.
if you never have, right? A lot of people bend at the lumbar spine, want to keep that thing straight and push your hips back like somebody's pulling a belt at your hips. Learning how to do these things not only will prevent your risk. Not only will get you results, but will greatly prevent your risk of injury with everything else you're doing. Because guess what? As
Yeah.
human beings, we move. If you're doing laundry and you got to pick up that thing off the floor, you should be either hinging or squatting, depending on how low it is.
Yeah.
If you're picking up a patient that's a couple hundred pounds, you definitely should be hinging or squatting, right? The
Yeah.
reason that we have all of these deteriorations over time, we're talking about our knees, our hips, our spine even, is not because there's a problem inherently with the joint. It happens over time from wear and tear of incorrect movement. So if you can just make
Exactly.
sure that your foundations are built, that you're squatting correctly, hinging correctly, forget about just for a second losing weight, you'll avoid
Right.
surgery in the future.
Right.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Woo!
Exactly.
Amen, sister.
Woo!
We got some comments coming in too. Thyatira says, "Oh my God, my kids look at me crazy when I'm eating our dinner for breakfast." Cassie says, "I can't fast and hit my protein goals. I've tried and it's so hard right now. I'm 50 in October, so I'm really trying to do more." Cassie, that's fantastic. I love to hear it. Cassie says, "TRH is Texas Roadhouse." Ah, okay. Ashley says, "Hello everyone." Hello, Ashley. Great to see you. I've had a hip replacement, so I can definitely speak to the truth of this, and I'm only 39 years old. Right. So, Ashley, it's like you have a beautiful opportunity right now as well, because you have this fresh beginning. You have a new beginning with this hip. It's brand new, baby. It's all oiled up. It's ready to go. So now make sure you can get a lifetime out of this hip. And you get a lifetime out of
Yeah.
this hip by hinging correctly, squatting correctly, building the foundation so there's less wear on that joint. Make sure your other hip never needs to be replaced, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's good stuff. She says, that's right. Let's go. Cool. Anything else before we go to the next slide here?
No, we're just going to wrap it up on the next slide and then, see if we have any questions at the end. But yeah,
Love it.
pretty much we just kind of went over why we need to be focusing on health span instead of lifespan and, that importance of building muscle, trying to shift your focus to getting strong and getting healthy versus getting skinny.
Yeah.
and why that's important. And then we kind of just went over, what you need to do. So the two big movers are going to be getting in that protein and getting in that movement,
Yes.
and just getting in those movements right. Like Ryan said, squat, hinge, push, pull. Start slow, start low weight or body weight, and just slowly, slowly progress, and you will see improvement.
Yes, we don't need complication, right? They say that
No.
the enemy of execution is complexity, right? We
Yep.
don't need to go through this crazy periodization of like what you should be doing in your workout, where it's changing all the time. I think it was even I was just talking to Coach Sharon about this. Like one of the best things you can do is the same movements for 12 weeks straight. Get
Hmm.
proficient at these movements, build those neural pathways, that neuromuscular efficiency, which is a really fancy way of saying you're going to get better at something by continuing to do it. Um, so it doesn't have to be complicated. We need to be consistent. And of course,
Yeah.
we can help with that as well. If you feel like, if you're out there and you feel like you know what to do, but you feel like you need some help kind of breaking through the mental pieces, being able to not only lose weight, transform your body, but set you on a path to actually sustain it forever by really harnessing the psychology of weight loss, right? How humans are designed, our human nature to go away from pain and towards pleasure. And you want something personalized that's designed around how we are as humans so you can give up on using willpower and you can feel pulled to doing these actions for life. Then I'll put a link above or below so you can discover how we get those results for our clients, watch a short video, and if it makes sense, you can schedule a call with me or a member on our team to see if coaching is a good fit. Anything else you'd add, Coach Danielle?
No, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everybody who watched,
And
and feel free to
fireworks.
drop any questions. We'll keep our eyes open for the questions.
Yep, we always come back and look at these comments as well. So Danielle is super awesome at that. Ashley says, exactly, I'm learning how to work with my leg length discrepancies. Fantastic. Ashley says, building routine to build a
Mm.
habit takes 21 to 30 days. Yes, indeed. So if this was helpful for you to like this as well, you can drop a comment saying this was great. More people will see it in the group. Our mission is to be able to impact 100,000 nurses and healthcare workers, regardless of whether they get started with coaching or not. This group is our way to do that. So we appreciate you guys. I appreciate your time, and we love you. We'll see you soon.
Bye,
Bye.
guys. Thank you.